Deafrowe with Deafrowe TV, and I'm back again with another review. And this week we're going to look at a 1993 movie called Wilder Napalm. But before I get started on this review, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can see the other obscure stuff that I will be posting in the future, and maybe go back and look at some of the stuff I've already posted. And as a side note, I will be on After the Weekend again coming up soon, and you will see a YouTube link in the description below for their YouTube page as well. So take a look at their stuff as well, and some of the stuff I've been reviewing with them. So let's get started on this review. 1993 Wilder Napalm, starring none other than Arliss Howard as Wilder, the great Dennis Quaid as Wallace, aka Biff the Clown, aka Dr. Napalm. So yeah, as you can see here, there's a clown in this first image that you see. That is Dennis Quaid. So yes, this movie is weird. We had Deborah Winger as Vida, Jim Varney, yes, Ernest, Ernest P. Worley, as Rex, M. Emmett Walsh as the fire chief. That's his name for this movie, fire chief. Don't I just tell it like it is. So yes, this movie it was filmed in Florida, and you can kind of see a little bit of that in this movie as well. I mean, because the way everything's laid out, the trailer park they live in, all this kind of stuff. But anyway, the premise of this movie, as you can see here, Dennis Quaid in the clown suit, he is Biff the Clown, and he's holding his hand out like a gun because he's gonna, act like he's gonna fire it at somebody. And they're like, yeah, there's Jim Varney and the Snake Girl. And what it is, Dennis Quaid plays the character Wallace. Arliss Howard is Wilder, and they have this ability to basically control fire with their mind. Uh, think of like Firestarter, but it's two brothers instead. And basically, they've been hiding this from everybody for 30 something years of their life since they were kids, as you can see here. And this is kind of like Wilder's job here is at this little photo processing booth right here in the middle of a parking lot in an old grocery store of sorts, shopping center, whatever you want to call it. And then this is like any shopping center in the South, by the way. I mean, this is looks like the tar put down on the pavement is pretty brand spanking new on this, but we probably did that because of potholes. Anyway, and here's the Arliss Howard playing Wilder, and essentially he works at a little photo booth right there in the parking lot of that shopping center, and his wife is kind of stuck in the trailer, which is why she's on the roof, is because she's under house arrest, as you can see with the little jewelry around her ankle there. And you come to find out later, which she's kind of bored. She's having to do so much time in house arrest, and she can't go anywhere. And you see, like, she takes the wig off Wilder, and you find out later that Wilder and his brother had a falling out, which is Dennis Quaid playing Wallace. They had a falling out because Wallace thought it was a good idea to light his hair on fire right before they got married, before Wilder and Vida got married, because Wallace was jealous of Wilder getting married to her because Wilder liked her. I mean, Wallace liked her just as much. Anyway, and apparently, they're trying. She's wanting to get pregnant and all this stuff, and bored as crap, and living in this little trailer park. She can't go anywhere, which is why you see her on top of the roof. She's trying to make the best of her situation, and At this point, um, yeah, everything just seems all hunky dory for Wilder, and he goes to work like he normally does at this little quick photo booth place, uh, processing booth, whatever you want to call it. Then all of a sudden, the circus shows up here, and he's like, oh, "I don't know what's going on," but he he's not he's not too keen on it. Let's put it that way. And of course, they're setting up in this parking lot, which this does happen in the South quite a lot. They basically show up and set up in either old mall parking lots or shopping centers that are not all that overcrowded or popular. So yes, how they got this pretty spot on actually. Anyway, this carnival fair, whatever you want to call it, circus, they show up, and of course this is what Wallace, his alter ego Biff the Clown, has been doing these last 30 something years. He's basically been riding around with a circus troupe, or uh, basically he's a carny, clown carny, as you can see here. And he keeps a picture, keeps a picture of their wedding picture, but with of course Wilder burn off on the side there. Anyway, and at that moment, Wilder gets a call from the fire, because he's like a volunteer firefighter, and apparently his wife Vida set the grass on fire with a cigarette, and just to get his attention, to get him to come home and all this stuff, because she doesn't, kind of like she's there all by herself all day long. Anyway, and of course the fire chief, which is played by M. Emmett Walsh, is trying to explain to her, it's like, you're almost, it's like she's like 2 days away from having the bracelet, the jewelry taken off her ankle and being free from house arrest. He's like, you sure you want to keep doing some stuff like this? You don't want to have to keep being under house arrest. And after that whole ordeal, Wilder goes back to his little photo booth and he sees all these cords laying on the pavement here, leading up to the power pole where the light pole is. And he goes inside to turn the air conditioner on to his little booth, and it shuts everything down. So then he goes outside and disconnects it. And that's when he finally makes his appearance. Because this whole time they've been there, uh, Wallace, aka Biff the Clown at this point, is going to let himself be known to that his brother's back in town. As you can see here, the thing about Wallace though, you see here, he can't control the direction of his fire as much as Wilder does. Wilder is a lot more emotionally control with his with his fire, so he could really pinpoint where his fire goes. Like the little cigarette trick here, Wilder can do it without burning the entire cigarette up, much less you know setting the trailer on fire like he just did behind him. So finally, Biff the Clown comes out and wants to talk to Wilder, and they're basically Wallace is like trying to tell Rex. Rex is like, get him. And, and Rex likes to call him Doctor Napalm too, because that's the character they came up with if he was to get into show business and show off his talents with fire. Is he's going to be Doctor Napalm, and Rex is supposed to be his assistant that he's going to take along with him on this ride. So Rex has always got his back and making sure everything's okay with Wallace, and trying to do everything right by him, even if it means breaking the law and doing things probably not above board. And Jim Varney, I gotta give this guy his due in this movie. I mean, he straight up. I mean, you would not second guess anything that he was saying or doing in this movie. His acting is spot on as a carny, or grease monkey slash carny. I mean, he looks like the guy that fixes everything at the carnival and also drives the truck to get to the carnival. I mean, it's crazy. He does a very good job, put it that way. And then, hats off to Dennis Quaid for this clown character. I mean, it just looks so weird to see him in like a clown outfit. And then finally, Wallace makes himself known to Wilder right here, and then that's where they have a little discussion about the power to the carnival rides and stuff like that. And they have a little discussion, and of course, uh, Wilder's not having any of it. He's like, "Hey, this is my place. I don't know why y'all even here to begin with." And he's like, "I'm going to use my air condition." And Dennis Quaid plays this thing up pretty well as Wallace, the Biff the Clown, that is. And so to solve the whole thing, Wallace decides to just burn the air conditioner with his powers and leave it at that. Now, Wilder doesn't retaliate because it's his brother. He's not going to do it. And then on top of that, Wilder is convinced that they need to keep their powers hidden so other people don't basically make them into a sideshow slash experiment on them, and then they maybe blame them for fires that they never did or anything like that. That kind of ordeal. Anyway, the next day, Wilder is having to go to a house that's on fire to help put it out, and as he's doing that, he has like a flashback memory of when they were kids, and all these memories are coming back to him because his brother's in town. Is reminding him of what they did as kids. And what happened basically is they this like this rundown shack they found in the woods, and they were wanting to impress one of their friends, which is the one standing in front of them right here. And Wilder decided, I want to light that rundown shack on fire, and they do it not knowing what was going to happen. And I'll tell you as we go further on, but it knocks off his concentration to the effect that he drops a little pick down right in front of him and wash his face. The fire chief, he's like, crap. He lost his train of thought while he's on top of the roof trying to poke holes in it with the pick. Anyway, so finally, Wallace makes himself known to Vida because Wilder wasn't going to tell Vida that Wallace was in town. And of course, now Wallace is not in the old clown get up and all this stuff. And this is where she explains why she can't leave the trailer, why she's under house arrest and stuff like that. And essentially, it comes down to this: is Wilder had a great job at a medical supply warehouse, and one of his jobs was to keep the place running. And one of the ways to do that was he would go around when it was freezing and snowing, which they make you try to. She makes it sound like they're up north somewhere. Like I said, it was filmed in Florida. I don't know exactly. They don't really, they try to make it look like it's somewhere up north, but I can tell by the way things look. This is down south, so I mean, I don't know why they would. Yeah, it's Lakeland. The filming location was Lakeland, Florida. Anyway, she talks about how it was snowing a lot that year, and he had a great job. She didn't have a job at the time, and then it was one weekend she decided to go with him to help him clean the ice off the sidewalk. And she kept telling Wilder, "Hey, just use your powers and melt the ice or whatever." And he wouldn't do it because he doesn't like to use his powers at all. So she got the idea of taking some gasoline, putting it on the ice, lighting it on fire. But the problem was when she did that, the ice melted and the fire was still on top of the ice, and it slid down into the adjacent building into a uh, drop box of a doctor's office that is a drop box for stool samples and stuff, and lit it all on. It was like this fire water ice coming through this drop box, just lighting the place up on fire, and there's like $18,000 worth of damage, and she's under house arrest. And of course, Wallace, still having a huge crush on Vida, is eyeing Wilder and Vida, and Wilder, making fun of him kind of a little bit here by putting her in his lap, and he's like, look what I got. You ain't got it. Anyway, and they end up going out outside and having the discussion about everything. And this is when, Wallace basically tells him, like, look, I'm going to go public. I don't care what you do with your life. I'm tired of being poor. I got a talent that I could use to make myself rich and everything else. And Wilder's like, you don't do that. You're going to get us both in trouble. And then Wallace does this thing where he looks like he's like a 6 or 7 year old pitching a fit, jumping up and down like this. It's like they never grew up because they're still stuck with this mentality that they have to keep everything hidden. So yeah, Wallace goes back and he's like upset that they had this whole discussion. He's pissed off. So he gets on the Ferris wheel, goes to the very top, and then like. And the one thing about this movie, the one thing I like about this movie at least, is the music that is played throughout the whole thing. It sets the tone for every scene. It was very well done, in my opinion. If anybody needs to watch a movie to see how music should be matched up with scene by scene by scene, this is one of those movies that does it very well. I mean, there's not a lot of plot to it. Things are kind of loose on that part of it. But this is a good movie to watch. A mastercraft at setting up the music with the scene. It just is. So yeah. So the next day we see the officers come by and take the the jewelry off her ankle, and she immediately runs over to the photo booth place and like tells them, "Hey, you got to take off. We got to go do stuff. We got to go do stuff. I'm free now. I'm free now. All this stuff." And then he's like, "No, I got bingo night tonight, and my supervisor is supposed to be showing up today and checking out my booth and making sure everything's good." And then she's like, "Fine, I'll just go do something on my own." And this is where Wallace decides to take advantage of the situation and uses a little dog to basically get her to go with him somewhere. Basically, say, "Hey, did you find my little dog?" You see a little chihuahua with a. Say, "Yeah, I think I found your dog." Anyway, so Wallace is trying to like mac out on her, basically trying to steal her away from his brother, which kind of works at first. They have like an intimate moment at the putt putt range, and then it ends up setting the whole putt putt range on fire because of it. As you can see, the fire starts to as you're kissing and everything. And then, of course, there's a fire nearby, so Wilder has to leave the bingo to go take care of the fire. And again, we get another flashback in the middle of the fire scene. And we find out when they were kids what happened is when they lit that little shack up on fire in the middle of nowhere in the woods. It had a homeless man in it, and they accidentally ended up killing the homeless man that was in that shack. And all three kids thought it was empty, just run down place in the middle of nowhere. Nobody was in there. It should have been torn down years ago, but they didn't really, and that's kind of what has scarred Wilder into wanting to hide what they can do, and also making Wallace go along with it. Anyway, he gets back to the house and finds both of them on the roof making out. And Wilder loses his shit, gets on a lawnmower, and just rides around the trailer all night long. Apparently, they didn't do anything, like go all the way, didn't go to home base, let's put it that way. But the fact that they're up on the roof just playing around to begin with was enough to set Wilder off. And like basically, he's riding around the trailer all night long on this little snapper riding mower. Just, yeah, keeping them up on the roof. Finally, Wallace is able to get down, get the ladder, get her down, and then they go into the house, try to make some breakfast. And he's like, "Hey, we need to talk. You need to come in here. We need to work this out, and all this other stuff." And it's like you repress your emotions. She's trying to you know, make it about him. Like it's your fault. You repress your emotions and stuff like that. And she realizes she's not going to get out of this, and so then yeah. In the way this is filmed, by the way, it reminds me a little bit like some of the shots are like sped up a little bit, but not as much. Not as much as in Raising Arizona, the way that some shots are like sped up as you zoom in on something. Like this scene with the lawnmower is just crazy looking to me. And Wilder gets so pissed off they ends up punching Wallace, and then he punches him out. He grabs the rod mower, picks it up, and just sets it on top of him, like, and then he's going to try to turn it on him. And of course, see if I can catch a scene here. Yeah. Anyway, Wallace ends up like setting the engine of the lawnmower on fire and getting it off of him and everything, and then pushes Wilder back against the trailer and lights up a ring around him. Anyway, so now they're fighting fire with fire, messing with each other. And Wallace gets so mad at he does this whole thing where like I said, he pitches a fit like a 6 or 7 year old, and he's like laying on the ground getting pissed off, and he's like lighting the grass on fire. And so Wilder gets up underneath the trailer to escape it. But then Wallace comes up underneath there and starts firing little fireballs at him and stuff, and then accidentally hits one of the propane tanks outside the trailer and blows up the side of the trailer. And of course, the police and firefighters show up and arrest all three of them because. And she's like sitting there, how did I get back in this mess? I was free for a day, and this is what happened. And she's pissed off at both of them. And Wilder's like, you know what? You can stay pissed off at me. I didn't do anything. You know, it's like this whole mess started with him coming back, and then you doing something. You should just the first day out, you get out and you do bullshit like that. He's like, just leave me alone. So that's when Rex comes by and he apparently sold the tilt a wheel or pawned it or did something, got some money to bail him out. because that's his meal ticket to Hollywood. I just love the way he looks in this thing. It's just so cool. I always like to see Jim Varney playing something other than Ernest. Cause he's a damn good actor. If you ever see him in anything else, I mean, like the Beverly Hillbillies was a great movie as well. The movie that he did with him. Anyway, but he refuses to leave unless he puts down the money to bail out Vida, and of course Vida refuses to leave unless they put the money down to get Wilder out. Because now she's starting to regret everything she's done and realizes she was in the wrong for what she did and tries to make it up to Wilder. But she doesn't have anywhere to go because the trailer was blown up, as you can see in that last little shot there. So she goes to the fire station and basically just hangs out with the fire station guys, and she basically just taking napping at the fire station, and then Wilder goes to the photo booth place and decides he's going to sleep there, and he finds like these little notes inside the drop box. And at this point, Wallace decides to play around with Wilder a little bit and make him think that he has Vida in the trailer with him. This is when he finds the notes right here. So he finds the notes, and all the notes basically say, "Hey, come get me. I'm sorry." Blah blah blah. It's notes from Vida saying like, she was basically sorry for what she did. Here it is, right here. And yeah, she's like, "I'm loving you," and then the next one's saying, "Now come get me." But he doesn't know where she is because he didn't. Because one of the notes uh, flew out of the box and landed outside, and then it's telling them I'm at the firehouse. So, and Wallace is pushing him to think that, oh, she's in my trailer over here. We're having a good grand old time. And that's where all hell breaks loose. And then that's when you finally see Wilder decide, you know what? Let's go. And he starts lighting shit on fire. It's the first time you see Wilder decide, you know what, I'm going to fight you, brother. If this is what you want, this is what we're going to do. Let's see. Of course, he goes a little bit further here because he keeps asking him, well, now I'm going to ask you again, where is Vida? And he doesn't tell him. And so Wilder just starts blowing shit up like his truck right here. And of course, Wallace keeps playing it off like, I don't. We were having a good old time. She was probably at the hospital, having to get the chafing, taken care of. And then, of course, Wilder's like, okay, you want to play it your way. And he focuses on the truck and blows it up. See, the thing with Wilder is, like I said before, he's able to focus his fire directly at something without lighting other stuff on fire. Like he was able to take that door off precisely at the hinges. He was able to blow just the truck up, like he does there. And of course, he gets in there and starts asking where Vida is. And Wallace finally tells him that Vida was never here. I was like, I was just messing with you, trying to get under your skin. And he's like, I don't even know why she wants to stay with you. You're not even worth it, and all this stuff, which makes it even madder. at some point, Wallace even tries to say, "It's like, look, man, I know why you've been like this all this time. It's because that man was in that house, but we didn't know. We were just kids. We couldn't blame us for that. We didn't even know we could do that as you know the pyrotechnic telekinesis crap that we had. We didn't know it was is that powerful, and we didn't know that somebody was in that house. We couldn't have, we couldn't have foreseen all that." And then finally, the trailer that they're both in ends up blowing up right here. Now, just because they can control fire with their mind does not mean they're immune to the fire itself. And at the beginning of the movie, I kind of passed over this a little bit. Rex is the character Dr. Napalm. He has this red and black suit that he's able to wear that he can light on fire without lighting himself on fire. It's like a fireproof suit. And he was showing him like two different ones. It's like this one's for the assistant and this one's for you, so you can light yourself on. Do like a flame on, like the Fantastic Four, uh, Johnny Storm character. Uh, so yeah, whole thing blows up, and the fire department finally gets there, and you see one person coming out of the fire, and it's Wilder in the assistant suit, the fireproof assistant suit. And he thinks he accidentally killed Wallace, and he's freaking out. He's like, "I didn't mean to do it." And then Wallace comes just prancing out with his little suit. See if I can get a good shot of that. So there's the assistant suit that Wilder somehow was able to get into before the fire, before the trailer blew up. And then Wallace comes out in his suit. Of course, he, Rex is all hyped up about it because he's in his suit as Dr. Napalm. Yeah, you see the suit. He's able to control the fire all around his body, and so he retaliates by hitting him with the fire, blowing him up. And at this point, the whole town knows pretty much that they can control fire, and he's like, I really don't want to fight you anymore." Um, and basically, he tells Wilder, "You win. You got your way. Everybody knows now. So why are we still fighting?" And Wilder, being, he still has that 7 year old mentality towards his brother, and he starts pouting about the whole thing. He starts blowing up his own carny rides and everything. So he's doing this whole thing, and he's blowing up all the rides that Wilder was like walking towards because he's like, "You know what? I want to take my wife on the tilt-a-whirl. I want to take my wife on um, the merry-go-round. I mean, not merry the Ferris wheel, or whatever." And then that's when Vita gets on the big water cannon on the fire truck. It's like you can see here, Wallace is still has his body on fire and everything. It's like he's determined to fight Wilder until Vita hits him with a big old water cannon and sucks him down, so he can't light his suit on fire and he can't control the fire because it needs to be somewhat dry for him in order to do it. And so he keeps trying to light his finger right here, and it's not working. Anyway, and while Wilder finally convinces him, like, "Look, man, we got to turn ourselves in. We did all this. The world's gonna know now, so we'll just have to fess up and do what we can." And so they all three walk over to the police and let themselves be arrested. And then we cut to, a couple months later or whatever, and Wilder looks a little more relaxed, but Wilder is the one now that is on house arrest, as you can see here. And they're on top of the roof of their house now. It's not a trailer. And they're watching Wilder on TV, like a interview show, like a David Letterman show. And he's being interviewed, and the interviewer's like, "Oh, you got so many months. You got 4 months left on your probation, right?" "Oh yeah." And I've already the products that already associated with my name were already paid more than doubled the money that we owe to fix everything in that town. He's like, I'm just gonna, he's doing charity work with burn victims and all this other stuff. Like he's basically trying to make good on his word that he's going to use his talent for good with Wilder, and Wilder's like, that's kind of cool. And now Wilder doesn't have a job because his place got burnt up, and now she's got the job, and she's trying to. He's stuck at home, and she's not. This whole ordeal here, and that kind of ends. And one of the cool things about this is the firemen at the fire station, the firefighters. There's like a singing troupe or a singing quartet, uh, and they do like these little songs throughout the things. It reminds me of the quartet that used to do the Carmen San Diego music. I don't think it's the same guys though, but they sound just about they sound pretty close to them. Let's put it that way. Kind of cool. And then at the very end, that's how they end the movie with them singing in front of their house, and they don't live in that little broken down trailer anymore. And that is the end of the movie, as you can see. Here's all the you can see all the actors and the characters that they're playing. Pretty cool, pretty cool movie. I honestly, man, it reminds me of so many different movies all wrapped into one. I mean, it's got a little bit of a like I said, it's a fire starter. There's a kind of a horror sci-fi element to it, and then it's got uh that element of raising Arizona to it, where it's like this town in the middle of nowhere, Florida, for example. This, even though I don't know, they get that much snow in Florida at all. That you would, yeah. So that plot, like I said, the plot line's not very great, but the music is good. The the shots and how all those elements are pretty good, and then the acting's great. I mean, you got some A-star actors in this thing. You got Dennis Quaid being the biggest A-star actor in this, and you don't realize how good of an actor Jim Varney is until you see him in something outside of Ernest, like in this movie. And this reason I suggest watching this movie for sure. Uh, I'm not sure where you can watch it. I have it on DVD, obviously, because I'm looking at it right now. That's what we're looking at now. But it looks like it is streaming on Freevee, Pluto TV for free. Those two you can watch them for free. It looks like it's on Amazon Prime and it's included with Prime right now. So if you want to watch it on Amazon Prime right now, it'd be a good time to watch it if you have Prime. So yeah, pretty cool. I suggest go watching it. For me, this is a 3-star movie, 65% on critic list, which puts it in the rad. And this is a rad movie. This is one I would actually watch more than once, because they're so little. I enjoy the music enough that I would want to watch it and pay more attention to each scene to see where how the music matches up, because that's just how good. Whoever did the syncing up to the scenes and the music and everything, or it was something the director did a great job. And the director was Glenn Gordon Caron. Caron, if I'm saying the last name wrong, I apologize. Which he did movies like Moonlighting, Medium. Let's see, a few TV series, Remington Still. Medium was the one I just said. But yeah, he did the TV series Moonlighting as well. Uh, yeah, but this, like I said, this was 1993. Great movie in my opinion. Rad, well, great rad movie. 65% on critic list. 3-star movie. I'll definitely watch this one again. I suggest you go on Amazon Prime and watch it without the commercials if you can. If you can't, Pluto and Freeview, you can watch it with the commercials for free at least. So, without further ado, that is my review, and that is me, Deafrowe, out.